One Piece, Chapter 950, The Soldier's Dream. So I really like chapters like these, chapters that give us little glimpses into all of the current storylines going on in the arc, and Wano certainly has a lot of them, and it's giving us some progression in this overall story and this arc as well, and I'm appreciative of that. You know, it kind of sucks when we get like a stagnant chapter, but other than that, let's get into it. So this chapter is opening up with the ending of the little mini Udon arc that we've had up until this point. And we're seeing the last confrontation between Kid and Luffy, at least we're going to get for a while, I suppose. And I think this is just establishing the relationship that Kid and Luffy are going to have, at least for the rest of this arc, where they're not necessarily in an alliance, but they're not necessarily enemies either. It's kind of like in a gray area, which is pretty good for Kid, considering the kind of character that he's had up until this point. But it's showing that, like, yeah, he's done with alliances because we see him thinking about Hawkins and Apu, as to where, like, he teamed up with them originally to take down Kaido, and then they just immediately jumped ship as soon as they got to their goal, and it seems like Kid was the only one who was originally sticking to the plan. So, you know, you can't really blame him for not wanting to team up with Luffy, because he doesn't have the perspective of Luffy that the readers do, and he just sees them the same way that he originally saw Hawkins and Apu at this point. But we're seeing that he gets his metal arm back. This is, you know, further pointing to his devil fruit, which still has yet to be revealed, but he more or less has, like, Magneto's powers from X-Men. So he has Killer with him back again, and they're going to get their comrades again. So if you're wondering, like, is this it for Kid in this arc? I don't think so. I'm sure Kid will be around for the final battle in Onigashima. And also, you know, Killer still has the smile side effect going on with him, which I assume is going to be cured by the end of this arc, likely by Chopper, and I assume that Chopper's probably going to heal Killer in the process, and that will likely strengthen the relationship between Kid and the Straw Hat Pirates further at that point. Then we're seeing the aftermath of Luffy after contracting that mummy virus that Queen had created that he took in the previous chapter, and while he was, like, playing it off, acting like it didn't really affect him that much, we're seeing that it really does, I guess, after the adrenaline and all of the bravado has worn off. It's totally, like, nullifying him, like, rendering him useless. Like, he's all emaciated, and he has, like, steam coming off of him. It kind of reminds me of what he was like after his encounter, or his initial encounter with Magellan, and I think we're going to have, like, a similar result to that here. Like, clearly, Chopper is going to develop an antibody because he's working on it here. So I'm assuming that, like, he's going to give the antibody to Luffy. Luffy is going to spring back in action. He's going to be like, I'm hungry, and then he's going to eat, and then maybe get a power-up. Like, and also he's going to be further powered up from all of his quote-unquote training that he's had during the mini Udon arc. So that on top of him recovering here is going to give him, like, a Zenkai boost. I mean, he's going to need all of the boosts that he can get in this arc if he's going to go into this battle with a realistic chance of taking down Kaido eventually. But also, this is further giving Chopper more stuff to do in this arc, which he really hasn't had a lot to do. So it's giving him purpose, which is nice. And also, this antibody that he's developing, I'm sure is going to come back into play later on, because we know that Queen is still out there. He's not MIA. So I'm sure Queen will be in the final battle and will likely use his virus stuff, since it was established so prevalently in the previous chapter. So Chopper having this antibody, maybe he's going to give a little bit to everybody before they go into the final battle, making any further use of Queen's virus, either by his hands or his men's hands, just ineffective in the war overall. And that's kind of cool. And like I said, it's just giving Chopper further purpose. So then we're seeing that the prisoners, the Yakuza, whoever else is coming out of the prison here, is finally getting some confirmation that the rumors and the myths are true, is that they actually did come from 20 years ago, because they're seeing Momonosuke just as he was 20 years ago, and they're like, oh, wow, I guess this, you can't fake this. This is Momonosuke, and he hasn't aged in over 20 years, so yeah, we're on board now, guys. We were reluctant before, but now we have our proof. We're going to help you fight for Odin's cause, so yeah, they just have more supplement to their army in this overall battle that's going to be coming up, and it's also revealed that it's 8 days away still at this point, and this kind of has me worried. So I just hope that it's not, like, literally 8 days of manga panel time. I mean, not real world time, of course, but, you know, like Oda time. I'm hoping that we're eventually going to get to, like, a time skip maybe just a couple days at least. I really don't feel like waiting 8 more days for this battle to happen. This arc has already been pretty long. We're already over a year into this arc. And if this is like a Dressrosa type thing, which as far as I know is the longest arc in One Piece, that was over 2 years, I think. So, I mean, I get that Wano is a big deal, but let's just get on with this battle, because the battle itself is going to be super long. So we don't really have to prolong it anymore. I know that there's some small things that need to happen before the final battle actually takes place. And I'm not saying rush it, but just like, come on, that's all I'm saying. So then the meaning behind those graves that Ashura Doji had shown Kinemon a few chapters back has been revealed. So apparently this is just the first wave of the revenge crew that went after Kaido. This apparently happened 10 years ago just because they couldn't wait 20 years because, you know, they're waiting 20 years for just essentially a hypothesis. There was no proof that this was going to work. So, I mean, I guess it makes sense, but also, yeah, they all died in vain just because, what are they supposed to do? Kaido is essentially unbeatable at this point, especially with his army. And then they place emphasis on it needing to be exactly 20 years, which is an interesting question, and Kinemon's like, there's a reason why it has to be 20. And as far as I know, I don't think we know the exact reason why it has to be 20. I mean, we know that Lady Toki sent them 20 years into the future, and that the myth and the quote-unquote hypothesis was that in 20 years they will get their revenge. But as far as I know, I don't think we've been told exactly why it needed to be 20 years. So maybe Toki has like some kind of other ability where she can see into the future, or maybe Odin can see into the future with like some kind of crazy hockey ability, or maybe somebody has a devil fruit that could do it. I mean, obviously, since it's been pointed out so many times, especially in this chapter, there's a specific reason why it needed to be 20 years. Maybe it has something to do with the Will of D. I don't know, I'm just throwing some things out there. So then it cuts to Zoro, and this is awesome. It's always nice to see Zoro in action, even though it was pretty brief here. But by much surprise, he takes out most of, if not all of, that private ninja squad that Orochi had, which is pretty cool. I thought those guys were just going to kind of linger around until the final battle, and then they were just going to be around for, you know, the side characters to fight. But no, they were just appetizers for Zoro, just giving him something to do in the meantime. And that's cool, because we have to remember that this is the first arc and screen time that freaking Zoro has had in like 3 years. So yeah, the more the merrier, of course. But then it's further establishing the relationship that he's been building with Hiyori here, which is nice because, you know, Zoro doesn't typically get the girl in these arcs, or at least not to this degree, at least in a while. So that, I mean, usually it's like Tashigi, he'll get like her every now and then, but it's nice to have something different for Zoro, and he seems to be developing some genuine feelings for her. Now, it can go either way if you want to say he feels romantic about her, but he does feel somewhat obligated to protect her, even if he's just, you know, covering it with, I'd be ashamed to see if Momonosuke, you know, if I let you die. But then we're also picking up where the whole lost Shushoi sword left off when Yukimura stole it from Zoro a couple chapters back. So, of course, Zoro's going to go back and get that sword. Hiyori's going to show him where to go to get it, because, you know, it's a big deal. He kind of needs that sword for the final battle, and just overall it completes him as a character. But then it's setting up that maybe Zoro is going to take out Orochi, possibly. Although I don't think this is going to be like his final fight, because Orochi, at least as far as I know, hasn't been implied to be like a super powerful villain. I mean, he was kind of worried, you know, a couple chapters back when we saw that he was briefly going to get attacked and he had like his gun. So yeah, he does have a beast devil fruit. He has like the Hydra fruit, which is insane probably, but all abilities and whatnot, he doesn't seem to be that capable. I always assumed that if Zoro did have a big opponent in this arc, it was probably going to be King, especially since King has a sword. But, you know, maybe Orochi is going to just be killed by the family of Odin, possibly, because that would make sense. I mean, they're the ones that want the revenge the most. I mean, especially since Hiyori's like, I wish I could kill Orochi with my own hands, and then Zoro gives her like that weird look. So maybe Zoro will do something that will allow Hiyori to take out Orochi or something like that, or maybe him killing Orochi, and then it's going to be set it up where it's like, oh, he already killed him by proxy, possibly something like that. So then as the chapter comes to the end, it cuts to the whole Hawkins, Drake, and Law storyline, and we're seeing that Law has been successfully captured by Hawkins. So I don't think Hawkins like legitimately defeated Law here, like they went one-on-one and then Hawkins just got the better of him. We saw that Law was pretty much trapped before because, you know, his crewmates were in danger. So he kind of just, I suppose he just gave himself up to not have them die at the expense of him, but also he's trying to find out where the rest of his crewmates are, especially Beppo. So him allowing himself to be captured is probably going to get him closer to that, but also, you know, that crazy cool smirk that we see at the end of the chapter in the final panel. So I'm sure Law has things under control here, even though it seems like the odds are against him. He also looks a lot like Luffy in this panel, like an edgy Luffy with tattoos and whatnot, so I'm sure that's kind of intentional possibly, or maybe unintentional by Oda. But the very, very interesting thing that's happening in this final page here is when Hawkins is talking to X-Drake. It's like, what have you been up to? You're acting strange. And Drake's like, it's nothing. Let's wrap this up quickly. So this is strange. Does this mean that there's something going on with Drake? So we know that Drake was originally a Marine and then turned pirate. So I don't want to jump the gun here. I mean, you're just putting possibilities out there that maybe Drake has a similar dynamic that Corazon did. You know, because we saw how that turned out. And we know that Doflamingo took out Drake's family or his parents or his dad or something. But then he told his crew that he didn't want revenge against Doflamingo. So either that was misdirection, and that all of this, you know, coming together for Drake is just revenge against Kaido? Or we also know from the date of the Vivier card book thing on Drake that he specifically wanted to find Kaido, and he did. So why did he want Kaido? Well, we initially thought that it was just because he wanted to join his crew. I mean, that makes sense. He's one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful crew in the world, so why wouldn't you want to join him? Especially because he likes Zoans too, and he is a Zoan. But maybe there's more to it. Maybe Drake is in fact a double agent. Maybe he still is working for the world government or the Marines, or maybe he's working for CP0, which of course would lead to the world government. Or maybe he has his own agenda, which we can't really figure out because it hasn't been revealed yet. But regardless, this is a super interesting development on X-Drake. I always thought that there was more to this guy, and I think this is proving that there is. But that's pretty much it for the review. Let me know what you think about all of this. Where do you think Law's interrogation is going to go? What do you think is going on with Drake? If you liked the video, please give it a like. I also have a Patreon, gives you access to a weekly Q&A, and if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day. See you in the next one.